What's happening, everybody? How the hell might y'all be doing out there? Got a great guest today and a drummer who many drummers refer to as an influence, and Chris Maggio, formerly of Trap Them, Sleigh Bells, Coliseum, and more, and presently playing with Wear Your Wounds. And as someone I've wanted to catch up with for some time, it was super cool talking to him, as I believe when the punk rock hardcore history books are looked at. Chris and fellow drummer Ben Koller will be seen as some of the guys that were paving the way for a more refined punk rock fury style of drumming that retains all the attitude but incorporates chops and next level intensity. I mean, guys like he and Ben are really at the absolute forefront of it, in my opinion. Speaking of Ben Koller, I caught up with Chris when he came through New York to rehearse with Mutoid Man to sub in for Ben Koller, who had a freak elbow injury and subsequent surgery that left him unable to do the month-long Mutoid Man European tour opening for Mastodon. So Chris and I get into the now 2 times he subbed for Ben and Mutoid Man and the challenging process of learning those drum parts and coming off a layoff of his own nonetheless. Plus we recount his work with the aforementioned bands, the important role drummer Dave Witte played in his life, other crazy injuries he sustained, and a whole lot more. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking at releasing vinyl, go on over to NewOrleansRecordPress.com to look at the myriad vinyl coloring, packaging, mastering, electroplating, lacquer cutting options, as well as the real-time quote generator, and they print both 12 and 7-inch records in both 150 and 180 gram variants. You need assistance with design? You got more questions? Give them a holler. Check them out. You love vinyl. It smells good. It fucking sounds good. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Crash Bang Boom podcast is now available on Google Play as well as my SoundCloud, my YouTube page, Stitcher, and more. Check out my Instagram and Facebook. Hey, give me a like, a subscription, a glowing review. Preferably a subscription and a glowing review. All right, here we go, y'all. Let's do this. Drum ripping badass Chris Maggio, y'all. Blast off. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Chris Maggio, man, how you doing, dude? What's going on? You're here in New York. It's fucking chilly outside. You're doing a last-minute gig, going to Europe, opening up for Mastodon, man. What the fuck's happening here, man?
Yeah. I flew up from Louisville, filling in for Ben from Mutoid Man, Converge, All Pigs Must Die, Kill or Be Killed.
No shortage of bands.
No shortage of bands for Ben. So I'm stoked. Nick and Steve from Mutoid are also buddies. So I'm up here for that, just kind of like a jump in, both feet, get it, make it happen type deal.
Yeah. How have the rehearsals been going thus far? I've seen some video, both of you in prepping when you were in Kentucky, and then being there and jamming with them, and all of it sounds badass.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. It's kind of come together as I expected it to, which is seldom that things work out that way.
Yeah.
But, I figured, well, I'll come up, I'll have X amount of songs learned pretty much, as close to note for note as I can.
Yeah.
Kind of eliminate the room for errer that way, and then get up here and then work on how we're going to play the set and then make the changes, the things that I don't know that they do live.
Right.
Because they have, they change things a little bit just naturally. Most bands do that, and it's a living thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been easy. I mean, first day was kind of just like everybody shaking off the cobwebs. Second day we ran the set and it was like, that was cool. And we ran the set one more time and it was like, wow, that was great. And then today we went there, we ran the set once and everybody was like, wow, yeah, all right, let's pack it in. We're good.
Fucking
Let's go to Europe.
All
Some
right.
shows.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, well, first of all, I guess we should say the whole reason that you ended up in this position in the first place was because Ben had a freak accident and fucked his elbow up and had to have surgery, right?
Yeah, he got hurt. And me and Ben have been buddies, I'd say, for maybe 10 or 12 years now.
Yeah.
From when I was in Coliseum. We did a bunch of tours with those guys, and just as anybody probably that likes playing drums is going to do, they're going to sit and they're going to watch Ben play.
Yeah.
Because, Converge is a phenomenal band and Ben is a phenomenal drummer, and you put those two things together and you just can't help but be like, what's going on here? Like, I gotta see how is this a real thing, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, over like multiple tours, just, you know, we came by. He and I have a lot of the same interests drum wise. I think we both probably grew up ripping off Bill Stevenson from the Descendants, and a lot of the Southern California like hardcore melodic punk bands. You know, just that whole deal, and then also having probably interests in a lot of other stuff too. You know, just weirdo fusion stuff here and there. Just like any like a lot of us. You know, you like an array of things.
Yeah.
But there was definitely like a thing there, and he actually. The Mutoid Man thing started actually with me doing some fill-ins the beginning of this year.
My buddy Brad Rice also did a couple of songs from Laser Wolf, right?
Brad, yeah. He did Day with the Devil and
Great song.
Manimals.
Yeah.
So I got a call from Ben, and he was like, look, you know, there's like family merge, there's some things going on. Like, I hate to do this. I've never done it before, but I need to get home. Can you pick up and you know, finish some of these shows? And then me and Steve jammed before together, and we're all buddies.
Yeah.
You know, we've all toured together before. We all hang out when we have the opportunity, and talk with those guys, and kind of tried to take the reins a little bit. Like, Ben, just go do your thing. Let us figure it out. And it was literally like he called me on a Saturday at like 2 p.m, you know, end of spring. And I was like sitting there, and he's like, "Do you think you can do it?" And I was like, "Well, I physically can make my body get up and get in the van and go to these shows. I don't know as far as the playing. I have no idea. I haven't played drums in months. You know, like
really?
I was not really that active for a while. I broke my leg and kind of was just
How the hell did you break your leg?
skateboarding.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it was like hit the coping and twisted my ankle and landed on my face at the bottom of the ramp, and the dog was humping me. It was insane.
Jesus,
it was the
dude.
weirdest scene. It was like freezing cold in my buddy's garage in the winter, and I'm the guy that got hurt that day.
Oh, fuck.
So that put me out of commission and for a little while, and I just whatever. Like, I hadn't been playing much, so it was like definitely like I don't want to say no, you know. So it was a Saturday that he hit me up, and I was like, got off the phone with him, and I was like, well, I'm going to go play drums now, I guess. And I went and practiced a little bit just to see if I could quickly get some chops back.
Yeah. Because
that's, you know, obviously anybody that knows the music is it's pretty choppy. And it's,
for sure.
It's even for a guy that's actively playing, you know, like a lot, it's a very specific kind of physicality to make it sound a certain way, in my opinion. You know, there's a way that Ben sounds, there's a way that music sounds, you know, in general. It's like it's very on, you know, and it's like just everything is really just, it's like a punch in the face, the whole thing.
But I think you're also a great guy to sit in for that, because I think there's a correlation between the two of your playing, and that I think both of you have this sort of foundation that I would describe almost as like some sort of D-beat bombast / punk rock fury that both of y'all, and that's
about right.
Fundamental thing, and y'all both have great chops, so I could see, I think, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, in a way it did. It was just, for me, it was just kind of like my confidence level was very low at that moment, because I was like, I haven't played, what? So it was like, they hit me up on a Saturday, and then it was like, the show's on Tuesday that you're going to start on, and, you know, what do you think? So I was like, set a little goal. Like, first day was like, let me just see if I can even get it together. And it was like,
how many songs did you have to learn?
Well, it was a headlining set. I mean, they would have loved it if I had 13 songs, but I was like, well, let me shoot for 7.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 9 if I'm lucky. So Saturday was like, let me get good real quick.
Right.
Sunday was, let me like see if I can make it through 3 or 4 songs and remember them. Yeah. And it worked out. And then Monday was like the same thing. It was like, let me see if I can get another 3 songs today, and that would put me at like 6. And I did that, and the whole time sending them like little videos, and then be like, what? You know, this is what it sounded like. What do you think? And then be like, oh shit, that's cool, yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna shooting for 6 songs. When you guys get here, we can run those 6. We can work on some details of them. That'll give us a really short, 15, 20-minute set, and then we can add another song while you're here. So they showed up, and it was like sit down. We blasted through them, and this wasn't like every last little detail of the drum parts. It was like the arrangements, most of the main fills, all the main accents, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then they showed up, and we learned, I think, another 2 that night. And then we left for Wisconsin the next morning. And This is so funny. I've never done this with a band before. I don't know that they've ever done it, but then on the way to the show, I was like, maybe we can find a way to practice before the show. And then I guess they put out a Facebook message, and we get to Wisconsin, we throw our gear on stage, immediately get back in the van, and then drive to a stranger's house who happens to have like a full spread of gear and a PA. We go there, we run the set, and then we pick up another song while we're there and learned it. Got back to the club, and we was literally like, got to the club, and it was like, okay, 10 minutes, we got to go on.
Holy
Walked up on
shit.
stage, played the show. Yeah, and then we threw in communication breakdown because that was just like an easy cover.
Right.
We all knew, so that bought us some time.
Nice.
And it was awesome. I mean, I don't think any of us really could believe it. We were kind of like, damn, and then we did that again. And then we played that show and drove back to Louisville, went back to my rehearsal space, practiced the set again, and then added another song and played a show that night.
Okay.
And then that's where we maybe stopped. And
Right.
I just did a lot of listening. It was, I never, that was something I didn't really expect to happen. And it was cool. Anyway, and then, so that takes us to where we are here, where Ben got hurt. And they were like, originally it was that Ben had a double booking where Mutoid was doing the Mastodon tour, but then Converge had, I think, a co-headliner with Neurosis in Japan.
Right.
So he was like, hey, would you be able to pick up like 5 or 6 shows at the end of this Europe run so I can head over to Japan? And that turned into that he got hurt and blah, blah, blah. And,
Oh, shit.
Which sucks. I feel for him because, when I broke my leg,
I've broken my hand, so.
Yeah, I cut off my finger. I'm missing a third of my index finger. And that was
fucking
weird.
crazy. Dave Witte told me about that as well.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking super weird. I'm like a walking disaster. Seriously.
A broken leg and a half a fucking index finger?
Seriously, like.
Jesus.
Well, now I get to throw Ben in the mix with me. He's a disaster as well now. It makes me feel better. I'm like, cool, at least one of my dudes is all fucked up too. Dave Witte. Let's talk about Dave because I love that man. I owe Dave more than a debt of gratitude. He's a wonderful, sage-like human being.
Yeah.
When I was in Florida, living in Fort Lauderdale, I was playing in like a local band there with some buddies, and I loved that band. It was a train wreck, but it was so fucking fun. Like, we never played a show that wasn't fun for everybody that was there.
Yeah.
And it was just like a crazy, like, fucking rock and roll punk rock band. We just would go ape shit and like pick up, like run across the room with a snare drum and like fucking kick it, like fucking whatever, light everything on fire, just break everything and go nuts. But Dave was doing he was doing a run with Melt Banana.
Okay, right on.
And I think it was on the Cellscape record. Mm-hmm. And I think that record was actually, the drumming was programmed and modeled after his drumming, which now I know. I actually just went back and listened to it the other day and was like, oh yeah, I get it now. I see. At the time, I was just like, this is some wild shit, whatever. Right. But then going back and listening and knowing more about what Dave does, it's like, okay, I see where they got that. Yeah. And my buddies had this band called the Heat Seekers, and they were like, hey, you want to come and just like do merch or maybe like sing backup, just do something. It was like a garage rock band. And so yeah, whatever, what the hell, went and did this little 5-day Florida run, 4 or 5 day Florida run. And me and Dave get to talking, and he calls me up one day a couple years later, and he was like, he's just like, hey, what are you doing? You still looking for a band? And I'm like, yeah, I'm always, who isn't looking to try to do something, you know, if you're playing. Right. And he's like, here you go. These 3 bands are looking for drummers. And it was, like, it was like Black Dahlia Murder. And I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I was like, well, it would take me a while to be able to show up.
It's a little more techie metal than maybe your style.
It's just I could probably do it now, oddly enough, now that I'm like a fucking million-year-old fossil. It's funny. Now I'm kind of like, oh, I could do this.
Really?
Yeah. Like, at the time I was like really like a wild animal. Like, I probably spent more time out of my drum throw and jumping up and down in the air and just going crazy, hitting everything as hard as I could and as fast as I could. Yeah. Than I did sitting down, like focusing on what I was supposed to be playing. Right. I just would get so excited and be like, wow, whatever, it's fucking great. I'm gonna kick the bass drum across the room, punch myself in the face. Who cares? Yeah. But then it was that Coliseum or Coliseum, and I listened to all of the bands, and I kind of already knew a little bit about them. And I don't know, Coliseum, it made sense. I just listened to it, and I was like, oh, I think it was the God Damage record that had just come out, and they were on tour with Torch. And Ricky and I have been friends since he was in high school. I've known Ricky from Torch since he was like 15. Yeah. And we, in our bands in Florida, used to play shows together. We would just always have so much friggin' fun, like literally, like just I don't know. It's just Florida, man. It's hot. Everybody's sweating. You're just running around with your shirt off, like throwing beer cans and just having a blast.
Yeah.
But they were on tour Coliseum, and I reached out to Ryan, and you know, Dave played the connection, and that was another kind of funny event because it was like I didn't know anybody in Kentucky. I didn't know anything really about the Kentucky scene.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Ryan, and that was a funny one because I literally was like Christmas Eve. I just drove up there. I learned a set, and I drove up there and sat down with them, and we practiced, and it was like pretty spot on. And that turned, you know, I went and did a tour with them, and then stayed with the band for a while. And honestly, I may have stayed with them. Who knows? I may have ran with them until Ryan decided to put it to bed for a while. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, you know, I made a lot of friends through Coliseum. Those were some of the best tours I ever went on. Was really like introduced to like a very large extended family of amazing high-powered mutant weirdos. You know, the Converge guys, the Russian Circles guys. You know, well, Kevin from All Pigs Must Die, the Trap Them guys, you know, just everybody, just a really cool thing. I was like, wow, this is really cool, you know, just dudes.
Yeah. So you moved to Kentucky to be in
and
Coliseum?
I had made a problem because originally when he was looking for a drummer, he was like, I don't know out of town people, but it just kind of maybe it just worked out. It was like I could do it.
I was wondering how the hell you ended up as a Jersey guy in Kentucky.
Well, yeah, it was first in Florida and then Fort Lauderdale, and then ended up in Kentucky by way of stopping in Cincinnati and going back to Florida first and then to Kentucky. It was one of these things where I was like, look, like I'll make my way up there. I promise. And we'll get ready to do the next record. I promise I will live in Kentucky or around Kentucky to make things easier. Because when I was a kid in my like late teens, I had moved to Tacoma, Washington for a band, which was really awesome and bad at the same time. And it kind of blew up in my face. It was a band on SST Cruise Records back in the day. It was the singer from All and a guy from a band called My Name. So it was, for me, being like a Bill Stevenson Descendants fan growing up and just loving all that music. It was like, I thought as a 19-year-old kid, I was like, oh my God, I've arrived. To me as a kid, I was like, oh, I just want to be like these fucking poor bastards living out of this shitty van wearing sweatpants and not knowing where their next meal's going to come from, selling out Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey. To me, that was like,
yeah, the dream.
You fucking made it. Oh my God. You know what I mean? And I found out what it's like. You end up, you know, living in a van literally by yourself in New Jersey with no band and no money and no clue what you're doing for a while. And it's a struggle. My whole point was that I didn't want to I wasn't going to be like, I'm just moving there.
Yeah.
You know, but then I did move there. And then I think, you know, we did his Napalm Death tour with Trap Them, which was a blessing in
Ultimately,
a way.
Was that your shoe-in with Trap Them later?
Yeah, me and Brian became buddies, and, you know, we would pal around a bit, and my time with Coliseum was running its course, I guess. You know, me and Ryan wanted to change directions, and that was hard because I moved to Kentucky and with my two best friends from Florida, so I kind of like made the shift with no way out.
Right.
And then the Coliseum thing pretty much came to an end at the end of this 6-week Napalm Death tour, and which was a little, for me at the time, I was like, fucking son of a fucking bitch! What the fuck? I just signed a lease. I could be at the beach.
Yeah.
Fuck. But me and Brian had started talking about, you know, maybe doing the next Trap Them EP together. Because they had a guy with them this guy Jeff, who's a really good drummer actually, and good musician, just maybe coming from the wrong place in some ways, like maybe, I don't know, socially or whatever. I don't have a bad thing to say about that kid. He was actually a pretty impressive musician. He just wasn't fitting the bill in that way. And Trap Them was a really perfect fit for me, honestly, at that point, because I was like, yeah, they know what they want to do. It's like very focused and very angry, and I was real pissed at that time. Like really angry, like
you've got some fucking shredding drumming on that Darker Handcraft record.
Thank you.
God, dude.
Yeah, I love that record. I love that band. I love what Brian does so much. It was hard time for maybe for both of us and for Ryan as well. and for Steve, the
Yeah.
bass player at the time. Like we all were having a lot of transition things in life. Who isn't? But it was great though, man. Like doing that record at God City and putting those songs together with Brian, and it was just. I love those songs. Like I can listen to that record still. I just listen to it as a fan. I don't even. To me, it's. I don't even know. I listen to it and I'm like, I played on this. Fuck. I don't even care. Like
some crazy drumming.
It's just cool. The songs are cool. The riffs are catchy, but
ridiculous
intense.
guitar tones,
Dude,
super intense. Yeah.
They just awesome, you know. And Brian is so great too because he's like the OG. He's like Brian is coming from where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Like there's no bullshit. It's like the dude like loves the things he loves, and I've never met anybody that assimilates it in such a way and then spits it back out his way. And you never would ever know. Like I would never know. I don't care. Like it's like I'd never know. Like he's like the dude that's like, that old thrash band.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have their demo tape. Yeah, they never put a record out. They put something out in like 1982, and they're from, you know, wherever the fuck, Somalia or something. And you're just like, and it's not even like in like a. It's just in like a normal, like matter of fact kind of way. Yeah. But he's great. I loved it. Trap Them. Yeah, I loved making that record. It was a lot of work on getting blast beats to be a certain way that they weren't like, that they were like very angry sounding and intense. Yeah, a lot. It was fun recording that record too, man. Like we had a good time. I love those songs. I can still put that record on and I'm like, fuck, this record is so awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. Speaking of injuries, man, I know the vocalist Trap Them, Ryan. He could at times be injury prone, shall we say?
Yeah. He cracked his orbital in Finland.
Jesus,
he
really?
head banged into his own knee.
Oh no.
Yeah. It sucks though, you know, because for everybody else that's involved, it's like, man, you know, like nobody really knows that you're intense as fuck, but it's not like so you just like slit your throat and you're squirting blood everywhere. All of a sudden you're just like hobbling off stage and you're broken as fuck and we can't do anything. Yeah. But hey, that's his thing. And and I get it. You know, I used to ask him like, why does this keep happening? He's just like, I can't do it without this. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah. Like at a time, like I couldn't play drums the way I did without literally like hopping up and down on my drum throne and like kicking my hi-hats across the room. I just had to explode. I was just, and that's why it's awesome. You know, it was hard. Sometimes it's hard to stay contained. Actually, I probably had a period of time where I was like, oh, everybody's too nice. They're like sitting still and they're like doing their thing. They're like focusing on their instrument rather than like lighting it on fire and slitting their head off or whatever. I don't know. You know, like I probably had like a shitty judgment of that, you know. Back to Dave Witte. So I meet Dave. No, because I got to talk about Dave because you probably say you don't owe me anything, but
it sounded like he hooked you up ultimately with Coliseum.
Well, he considered me. Dave knows a lot of fucking drummers. Yeah. And he never really saw me play drums. You know what I mean? Like he had seen me sit behind his kit and kind of just do some fills and all right, I don't think I'm worth a damn on the drums. Like there are, to me, it's always like, well, I have something to offer, but a lot of the people I've been lucky enough to be around, the guy that I took some drum lessons from, the other guy I took some drum lessons from, like got lucky. Like I had some drum lessons from Joe Morello.
That's what Dave told me.
Yeah, like and this guy Sonny Igo, whose son is Tommy Igo, and and just as a kid you watch enough of those videos of like the Superhumans and you're just like, yeah, I'm nobody. You know, like I'm never going to be Tony Royster. I'm never going to be playing in 13/8 and just doing a wild drum solo in like 3 different meters over a click and while spinning a drumstick and maybe eating a slice of pizza. Like that's not gonna. I mean, I'm not saying I don't think. I appreciate what I do. Yeah. But as a kid, it was like you see those things and you're like, oh my god. And then you sit down with a guy like Joe Morello, who's like the king of odd time signatures. You know, the guy can count in 4 and play in 5.
Did he teach you hand technique?
I went there mainly for that. Like, I didn't know that I should have been going there for seeing him for a completely different idea, and I didn't realize it until he was long gone. And I took about I probably took like 2 lessons a month over the course of a year, and it was to learn how to move my hands, because like growing up playing punk rock and not having a clue and never taking any drum lessons, I was like kind of like hurting myself.
And then you ended up with Joe Morello. That's insanity though, dude.
Yeah, my brother went to music school for piano and voice. He studied classical piano and vocal, like opera vocals.
Yeah.
And he was going William Patterson, and he had some friends, and those friends had multiple music degrees and whatever. So he was like, oh, you know, and I don't know where it was. Out of the blue, I just fell in love with Dave Brubeck Quartet.
Yeah.
You know, in my little journey, you know, I started trying to listen to some jazz, as some of us do, and you find out that you like love it and hate it maybe at the same time.
It's only one of the most musical drum solos in the history of music over what he does over Take 5, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, that guy is probably, Dave Brubeck Take 5 was the first platinum selling jazz single, and it was a drum solo, and it was in 5/4.
Right.
And it's generally back in the day, I don't know what drum teachers teach. I never really took a full spread of drum lessons, but I know when I was a kid, the other drummers in my town, which Nutley, New Jersey is an oddly musical town, and I was lucky enough to grow up around some people that at like 11 years old, they had cover bands doing songs like Roundabout.
Right.
And they were killing it. Like the drummers, the guitar players. And these were like 11-year-old kids.
Whoa.
You know, like, you know, nowadays 11-year-old kids are going to do like a 350 BPM odd time signature like blast beat or cover an Origin song.
Right.
Back in the day, though, you know, that didn't really exist. And it was like, you know, they were playing Yes covers, you know, or whatever. But I didn't play, you know, at all. I didn't start playing until I was like 15 or 16. And by that point, I was like a full-fledged drug addict. I didn't care about anything. I was like, play some drums every now and then for fun, and then like, you know, whatever, go to Newark and just like wander the streets and find like a bunch of weed and get high and like whatever. I was like out of my fucking mind. No idea what was going on, like literally wild animal. But I did grow up around these kids, and they kind of, luckily I was in the middle of them enough where I was like, I should play drums. And I had this one buddy that was like, yeah, come over, play the drum set.
And that was it.
Guy I grew up with. And I had like a little bit of a natural, he was the one that was like, yeah, he's got like natural, he can just sit down and kind of play, you know, just, you know, basic things, you know, like I could hear a rock beat and be like, oh yeah, you just play the beat, you know, cool, whatever. And then I'd ask him like, how do you make the bass drum pedal do something different? And he'd be like, you just do it. Yeah. That was the answer.
Just do it.
Just do it. You know, it wasn't like a technical, it was just like, I don't know, just try doing it. So I'd try doing it and I'd be like, is that it? He'd be like, yeah, you just did it. Like, but yeah, I fell in love with Joe, and my brother was like, oh, well, my buddy used to take drum lessons with him. You know, he could probably hook you up with him. So I got in, I started taking lessons, and it was an eye-opening experience, but it wasn't the right place for me at that time. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. Mainly because the dude was so relaxed. Yeah. You could never understand what you're looking at, like how to move the natural way, like he liked to call it. It didn't make any sense. It looked like he had a joint on his wrist, in the middle of his forearm, at his elbow, in the middle of his bicep. Yeah. His arm just would like wave, and his 73-year-old
efficient motion.
It's just incredible, you know. And like a blind dude, you know, this old 72-year-old blind dude, and he could still kind of rip. Yeah. Anyway, that's how I ended up with Joe Morello, and that made me actually, I just lost my mind because I would sit on a drum pad, and I didn't even go to a drum set anymore. I would just sit there on this drum pad, like obsessing on how to make my sticks move and how to get my arms and everything to loosen up the right way, and trying to understand this thing. And then at some point I just was like, "God, the hell with this! I don't care." Like it was always there in the back of my head. But I was like, "I just gotta play. I don't want to do this crap anymore." But then I quit after Trap Them. Like we took a hiatus, and I just was like, "I gotta go and like get a job and just be a normal person for a while." Right?
How'd that work out for you?
I mean, I made money.
Oh well, there's that.
But it also screwed me up because as soon as I got into like this halfway decent position, I get a text message from Derek from Sleigh Bells, who by way of Dave Witte is hitting me up like, hey, we need a drummer. I'm in this band with my friend Alexis. It's called Sleigh Bells. And at the time, Sleigh Bells was a pretty popular band. Like they you know, and I knew about them, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? That's like all programmed, you know, tracks. Right. And Derek was just, you know, he's like, look, you know, here, just learn these songs, like do something, like just learn it note for note or whatever. And yeah, you're going to play along with tracks. We're going to mix you front of house live. You're not going to be doing any triggers. Like, it's going to be awesome. Just show up in Brooklyn on this day. We'll get you a plane ticket. And let's try it out. It's not an audition. Dave says you can do it. It's more of a scene if it's going to work for us with live, like doing all this live. I showed up, and it was, you know, I'd never played double bass drum before. Like, really? There was a lot of things a lot of never had before with that one. Like I didn't ever play along to tracks, you know. I never really played double bass drum, you know. I mean, obviously most double bass drum stuff is like, it's the same as your hands, but still, never really did it, and then never had to do it with any precision. That's for fucking sure. Right. So yeah, I showed up, and it was good enough, I guess, because they asked me to join the band for a while, and we did that for a couple of years, and that was an awesome thing because I got to kind of make some money and take learning double bass drum like really seriously. And believe me, I was like a nervous wreck, like texting like Ben, like, hey, did this, I don't know what I'm doing. And even Brad, I remember talking to Brad from Red Chord and from now Trap Them, who replaced me in Trap Them, and being like, dude, like, what am I doing? I don't know. What do I do? What do I do? I don't know if it's not loud enough. It's making me tired, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then, whatever. After a while, it was just like.
Fell into it.
Kind of, I mean, yeah.
I should also mention for those listening to this that what is amazing is that you played on that Trap Them record, and that what a lot of people would assume was double bass was you actually doing this patented Maggio fucking right hand to snare movement, playing 16th notes between your bass drum and playing open-handed with your left hand and playing eighth notes or quarter notes between your crash and your hi-hat.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre thing to see, dude.
Yeah, you go open hand and you play You play right hand on your alternating
floor
single strokes on your
snare.
floor and your kick, and then use your right hand to play the backbeats in between. So like with one hand, and then keep eighth notes with your left hand as best as you can, and play your cymbal accents with your left hand, which was really hard. And that came around too. That was like Brian. I started doing that on the we did an EP for Southern Lord. That was the first thing I did with Trap Them, and I'm fucking drawing a blank. What the hell the name of the friggin' EP is? But we were doing a song on that, and I was just like, oh, check this out. This might work. This would be cool. And I was like, can't I just like get a double bass drum pedal or something? And Brian actually was the one that was like, no, man. He's like, it sounds like, it's really even, but it sounds like an old thrash record where like you'd have two bass drums, not a double bass drum pedal, and like the two bass drums are a little out of tune from each other, or like, and he's like, it's fucking really cool. So I just was like, all right, I'll just keep doing that, and that turned into like, well, maybe see if I can make it faster and that. But also really is tiring and a very exhausting thing to do. Yeah, and it was fun. I came up with a lot of cool patterns doing that, but then eventually just started playing double bass drum, and it makes life a lot easier. Yeah, it's really fun.
Do you still whip out the patented Maggio every now and again just to blow some minds?
No, I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to do that. No, I haven't done a lot of ego drumming in a while at all.
Would you consider the Trap Them? You would say that was fairly ego drumming?
No, man. I honestly think when I listen back to that record, most of that was like. It was just for the song. It was. A lot of it. I mean, maybe somebody else would be like, well, why did you have to do that drum fill? And it was like, there was like little things here and there like that were more like obsessive compulsive things. I was like, no, I just have to do this. I don't know why. Yeah. And I listened back and I'm like, why did I waste my time with that stupid little thing that sounds like a ghost note that no one is ever going to hear is even there? Right. It was pointless. Yeah. But that's just where I was at.
I think all drummers go through that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, a lot, I would imagine.
Now I wouldn't do that. I mean, shit. So I did the Sleigh Bells thing, and that was cool, and I burnt out really hard on that. Great individuals, really hardworking people. And what an experience. I mean, like, if you get the opportunity as a drummer to night after night play note for note to tracks that do not speed up or slow down, and you have to actually change with certain songs the way you're approaching each instrument of your drum set. So, like, as an example, like, a lot of their music is like 808 bass drums that are distorted, and then like 808 hi-hats that are distorted. Yeah. And then, but the drum sounds that are sampled and or programmed will change from song to song. So like a song like not Crown on the Ground, but Kids, that's like a 16th note hi-hat pattern on 808s. If you know what 808s sound like, it's a really tiny sound. Mm-hmm. So try to mimic that to where you can bury what you're playing note for note inside of the 16th notes that are programmed. You have to go like really precise. Like the tips of each stick have to be like within like, within like a 1 inch, like a quarter. Yeah. And they have to be hitting the not the bell, but like the body of the hi-hats. You're not playing the edge like you would in like a rock song. You have to like get really tight, but then hit hard enough to where it's like precise and accurate. It's like not weak. You want each hand to be like just da, 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 as much as you can. Yeah. And then, so that was like little things that like you wouldn't think about as much in like harder, heavier, louder music. It's just stuff I wouldn't think about and I would practice their stuff and I'd record it and then I'd mix what I did in with what they were playing and be like, that's not on, or is there still like a little bit of a delay? And I just kept practicing and tried to like come up with ways to like bury what I was doing to where it was dead nuts on, like just like if you were practicing like 16th notes, you know, on with a metronome. You know, you're trying to get them as on as you can to where you can bury that click sound. And it's funny. I looked at it like a video game, which I'm not good at video games, but I tried to imagine like each instrument like a target. You know what I mean? So like the hi-hats were like a really tiny target. Like imagine like I was playing on a quarter.
Right. And
then like some of the songs where with the 808s would be like double bass drum 808s. So it's this huge wall of just pulsating sub. And those were like, oh, okay, cool. Like I don't have to be as precise because I've got a bigger wave to play inside of. Anyway, getting to do that night after night over and over again with a cowbell and backing the drums were in my in-ear monitors. It was awesome. It was really like, it added some rigidity to my playing, but like some maturity to where I'm like, okay, you have to like stop now sometimes and think about what you're going to play so you can actually play it like accurately.
Well,
you know
it sounds
I mean?
like at the time it was super out of your wheelhouse, so you really had to adjust to that. And I mean, it's a totally different way of playing, different way of thinking about your instrument, everything.
Dude. And a lot of the patterns were strange. Like, man, my brother who went to music school, like I would started losing my mind because I was like, Mike, I can't remember what I'm supposed to play. Like, how am I going to do this? Because it was like, not that it wasn't musical music, it was just different. Like most drummers, you have a constant pattern on one hand, you know, you're doing things that line up and are compounded, or they're slightly polyrhythmic, but they're patterns. Things are constant. This was like a lot of stuff where I was like, oh, like I'm playing 160 BPM 16th notes with my feet, but I'm playing halftime of that with my hands. And I'm playing a pattern that really isn't something that naturally goes with like a 16th note double bass drum pattern. Yeah. You know, like playing like a pattern that's like do bat do bat bat do bat do bat 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 on my hands. Meanwhile, my feet are just going. It's all locked in and quantized. So it was like things like that were just awkward for me. It was like, okay, I'm just like sitting here running in place and moving my hands really slow. And then other stuff where like some songs where it was like 180 measures of like the same thing, but like one thing changes. Right. You know, that's a thing, you know, that's like orchestral music is a lot of that, you know, like where you just count time and play nothing until you're at like 200 measures in and you're like, oh, you got to hit the thing now. Hope you're awake. It's obviously not as elevated as that, you know. I'm not like it. I'm just saying like that's a thing I've heard people had to do because I've never had to do that. Yeah. So that was really tricky for me anyway. But it was also like the benefits of it were awesome because while I was doing that, Jake from Converge was doing his side project, which turned out to be called Wear Your Wounds. And he was like, hey, you know, Maggio, you want to fill in on this? You want to not fill in, but you want to play some drums on this for me? And, you know, he's like, here, I'm going to send you tracks. And a lot of it was quantized and you know, it was a lot of MIDI stuff, and then some of it was like loops of him playing drums, I guess, you know, I'm assuming that's how he did it. And he was like, yeah, just kind of listen to it and then just do your own thing. So this challenge for me was like, okay, this is like 8-minute songs that are like 58 BPM. Oof. Or, you know, like really painfully slow.
That's a skill set in and of itself.
Yeah, sure. I was just like, all right, I don't know why. I mean, I love Jake to death, and like, you know, like it was like flattering that he asked me. I was like, oh, my dude like wants to hang out with me, like make some music. This is gonna be awesome. Yeah. And coming off the heels of doing the Sleigh Bells thing and doing that, you know, where it was like a very people from the same world because they are definitely punk rock and hardcore kids. Yeah. That just took a shift, and we're still kind of doing the same thing but in a different way. But that was like a different world for me, you know, and then get back with, you know, people from a family that I was used to a little more. I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. It was so goddamn hard. My freaking God. Because it was like, take these slow songs, but like humanize them, you know, make them feel, you know. And so that was a super challenge because it was just like there's like a song for me and maybe for like some guys that have been playing double bass drum their whole life. There was like a track on there. It was like 5 minutes of double bass drum straight through. Wow. You know, dad, you know, had me on. But it was cool. You know, I did that. We did that record. We pieced that together. That band ended up becoming me and Jake and Mike McKenzie from Red Chord and Adam McGrath from Cave In and F. Sean Martin from Twitching Tongues and Hatebreed and a whole bunch of other projects, and Jake. So we did this email project, basically, kind of, you know, like where we pieced together an album out of songs Jake had been working on for years. And it was a combination of stuff that we all kind of interjected on, some things that I played on the whole songs, and then stuff that was MIDI. And then we decided to do a tour. And then we took some of the songs that didn't have any drums or other instruments on it. It was all just kind of MIDI piano and him singing. And we worked those into songs. And then we got to Europe and we did a tour. And we were all kind of like, wow, this is cool. This is working out. And fast forward. And then we did Roadburn. Jake was the curator. And that was awesome, and that turned into us just doing a record where there was a bunch of demos, and we kind of had the guides of those demos, but we all kind of showed up like not really having played we really didn't play much together. Like just kind of like I learned the songs, what was there, and showed up, and we rehearsed for a few days, and kind of worked on some ideas, and then went into the studio and was all of a sudden just kind of doing drum tracks for songs that were still like me and Sean Martin would talk about it and be like, what's happening here, and he'd be like, I don't know, I think things just gonna develop, man. We're just gonna see what's gonna happen. And meanwhile, I guess it was not really like that. It was like, I laid down these drum tracks, and that was an awesome experience because I kind of for the first time was like, I played less is what I'm trying to say. I played and was like, I'm not gonna do that. In fact, I'm not gonna do any of this. I'm gonna not do drum fills. I'm gonna try to just gonna play these beats and let them be what they are. And there's some fills on there and stuff, but it was very spacious and still like some really slow stuff, and interesting because again, you come at it with a totally different approach because now it's about the sound of each instrument you're playing, and how to keep a consistent sustain on a cymbal or whatever, it was like a little different approach
for sure.
And also I was lazy and didn't play drums for about a year, 8 months, and then gave myself 2 weeks to get it together.
Oh shit.
But it's awesome. I love the record. I don't know. I know Jake's working on vocals and bass parts, and I know we're waiting on some additional MIDI files from Ben Chisholm from Chelsea Wolf, and then the piano parts that go in there that are being a little reworked for what we changed on them.
Sounds interesting though. I'm anxious to hear this.
It's great, dude. I love it. It's epic. Mike's guitar playing is just like, it's fucking nuts, man. You have 3 guitar players, dude.
Wow.
So you got 3 guitar players on a lot of the songs, like doubling their rhythm parts and then adding leads, and then then them doubling each other's leads, and then like effect tracks from Adam where he's like putting in like, different, like a permutation of a chord progression or whatever. It's awesome. It's kind of like from my wheelhouse or whatever, music or whatever. It's like to me, it's like Pink Floyd meets like a whole bunch of other real weird shit, heavier shit, like maybe some like Merciful Fate and some like weird like oddball Judas Priest stuff mixed with like Pink Floyd and like somebody said like Sisters of Mercy or something. It's cool though. I love it. I really love it.
Well, from going from blast beats and super spazzy stuff, and then to now slowing way down and playing super minimal spacious stuff, and in between doing the electronic approximation. It sounds like you're running the gambit, man.
No,
you're doing a lot of different shit.
Totally, it's cool, and I love it too because I felt a lot of criticism back in the day, being like like that I was too spastic. So it's fun for me now because I'm just like, you're all wrong. Whoever you were that thought that you were
proving
wrong.
the detractors wrong.
There
you go.
You were off base. Yes, I can play the same pattern for 5 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Over and over again. It's a thing.
Look,
so that was
look
cool.
what you do when you start getting older, Chris.
Yeah, you do that thing. So there's something I wanted to say about Dave Witte though. Something that I learned from Dave. I have like a huge appreciation for him because I can. When I was a little younger, I was a bit of a bitch. And like a jealous person, and like didn't have my psychology clear, and we would hang out, when we got the chance to play shows together or maybe do a little tour together, and he'd be like, yeah, check out my dude, watch this guy play, blah, blah, blah. And I would get into this thing, just kind of pissy thing, and he would Dave's awesome. He's got a couple years on me, but this is the greatest thing about Dave is he truly appreciates what other people do. And what I learned from Dave, that if anybody doesn't, and I'm sure most people aren't as stupid as I am, where they can just appreciate stuff. I was always in a competition with myself and the world around me instead of just like an appreciation and a gratitude for it. But he would be like, he never said it to me, but without saying it, with him just kind of just making fun of me a little bit, like I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like he's just loving stuff. And it makes him even better at what he does. And that's what I kind of picked up from him, was just like, you need to just like appreciate all the stuff that you see that you actually think is cool instead of being like, well, I could do that or whatever. You're not really doing it. You know, instead of poo-pooing shit, you know,
Right.
just being like, no, that's fucking tight. And that motherfucker is kicking ass.
Well, that's the way you learn and evolve.
Yeah. Well, didn't get it. I didn't get it. You know, my journey was a little bit of one of solitude, you know, with a loud inner monologue for a long time. And now, you know, and from help from a guy like Dave, like that was a great drum lesson for me. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, it wasn't like you do this with your hands. It was like a life. It was like, dude, just appreciate shit. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate what other people do. You know what I mean? Don't be a dick. Quit being a fucking dick. Quit being a dick to yourself, really. Because no one else gives a fuck if you think like you know, walking around with your nose in the air. Right. But I'll say some of that came from a little bit of an attitude from like an era of New Jersey where I was like real mad at like hardcore and punk scene because there was a little bit of a like attitude, you know?
Sure.
But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, Dave rules, and God, I miss him. I haven't seen him in a long time, and this makes me want to call him when we're done.
You should.
But that takes us up to now, and you know, getting to play Ben's parts because I don't listen to a lot of music these days, and I don't put as much energy into music as I should. But I will say that like when it comes to like Ben, like as I've gotten older, he's like I can appreciate a lot of drummers and a lot of stuff, but like, you know, my Boston friends always seem to do something that inspires me to want to maybe be like, maybe I should keep playing, you know, and Ben, the way he plays drums, you know, and just the kind of guy he is, you know, how like into it he is, you know, like it makes me like it still is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Not that I don't like music or drumming, but just, you know, you start getting older and it's
rekindles the fire a little bit.
Yeah, you know, like it's awesome. And, you know, getting to play, and that's the other thing, like getting to fill in for him and do the Mutoid Man thing, like playing with those guys, like aside from Wear Your Wounds, because that is a group of really inspired people. Like Jake I can't even believe it. All the Converge dudes. Yeah. All of my Boston friends, they blow my mind because like Kurt, you know, God City, Converge, instruments, pedals, you know, they're just very prolific people.
They really are.
But like, we get together to practice for Wear Your Wounds, and Jake is just like so stoked, and Mike too. All of them, just like stoked. Like, yeah, let's do all of it. Let's go. Let's make another record this year. Fuck yeah! You want to practice? You want to play? You want to do more? Okay, cool. Same thing with Mutoid Man, and I hadn't had that experience since I was like 17. Yeah. When I was a kid, and I was like that naturally. We would just be like, we got to play the song again. We got to play the song again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it faster. Let's do it slower. Let's throw a click on it and let's play it at like 250 BPM and see if we break our hands. Literally. Then when we did that Mutoid Man thing, and I was like, we should find a place to practice before the show. And those guys being like, yeah, let's go. Right. Look, doesn't matter. You need to do the song 50 times. Let's do it 50 times. Let's just get it right. Yeah. And never feeling like they were getting frustrated with me was awesome. To be like, oh, wait, there's like people that are stoked. Yeah. Like, they don't care if it's 3 seconds of music that you're just having a hard time with at that moment. Like, let's just do it till you get it right. Let's try 10 different ways until there's a way that works for you. Yeah. Like literally like a mind melter for me. Like what? Well, this makes me want to play music like hardcore. Like I want to go home and like practice like hard and have fun with it. Yeah. But yeah, Ben always gets me like fired up, like stuff that he does and just these guys in general. And it's awesome to send him little videos like, yo, dude, check it out. Like, it's coming along really good. And have him text, like, he sent some text back today. And I was just like, that's like the cool. I got 2 of the coolest compliments this year that I've ever gotten in my whole life. And one of them was from Sean Martin during the Wear Your Wounds session where he said, dude, I'm just sitting here. I can't believe that somebody can just play that over and over again, like with feel and dead on, like without changing anything for that long. And I walked into the control room and I was like, yeah, I can't believe it either. Cause I was playing it saying, I'm playing this over and over again and I haven't fucked it up yet. Right. You know what I mean? And then today, like I just sent Ben a video and he was like, dude, it's fucking awesome. You're hitting so hard. It was just like, I don't remember what he said exactly, but I was just like, yes. Nice. And, you know, what do you, to fill in for a dude that you admire, you know what I mean? It was like who you love what he does and then have him like throw it back at you and be like, approve of it. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Nice, and the dudes you're playing with too, like those guys, you know, fucking, you know, Steve and Nick are unbelievable musicians. Like I can't even believe it. I'm like, oh, everything's so easy. I just sit down with them and we play and everything. It's like you hit stuff and it all works. Right. Instead of just feeling like you're in a fight with the other people you're playing with. It's like, no, you're doing this together. We're not going to box. Yeah. We're going to do this.
Right. A functional, talented relationship. Imagine that, dude, Chris. It happens every now and again. It happens. It can happen.
Dude, like I play something too fast and they just play it too fast too, and they're like, that was raging, not like you're playing it too fast. But I'm listening back to the little video I took of it, I was like, that's like unbelievably fast. That's like way too fast. And they're just like, no, it was fucking great. I'm like, hell yeah, cool, whatever, fuck it.
Nice.
Stoked. But yeah, anyway, that's like the short version of all of the stuff. It's been an interesting journey of me trying to run as far away from music and drums as I possibly can.
Yeah, and then you end up with a half a finger and a broken leg, and then you take some time off, and then you join a band, and you quit. So this is the moral of the story, Chris.
Literally, it's like me, like being like, I gotta go and get like a normal life. I just fuck, and I can't do this shit. Fuck, and then people that I'm like, well, I can't pass that up. Like I love to make some music with that person and be around those guys, and it just keeps not drawing me back in. But yeah, it's like, what's the moral there? It's like, dude, just stop, just find a way to keep playing and just enjoy it and fuck it.
Maybe you were meant to play, man.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I would say that you are, man. So good luck on the Mastodon run. I'm bummed that Mutoid Man isn't playing a show here in Brooklyn. I would love to see you play with him.
Yeah, I tried to convince him to do one.
Yeah,
maybe I'll try harder because I'd love to play a show in the
I'd
States.
love to see you.
I like playing shows in the States. Like I don't dislike Europe, but I like playing at home.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's just fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot more fun for me anyway.
Yeah,
no, it's all fun. Europe's great too. I just like playing in the States. I like touring in the States the most. It's my favorite.
Right on.
You know, I'm obviously going to Europe with them, so it's not like I hate it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a blast.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, shit, I get to see Braun play drums every night. That'll probably make me want to quit. Or maybe it'll make me want to play more. I don't know.
There you go. Now, see, this is what Dave Witte told you, man. Stop the competition, start observing. Come on, Chris, you can do it.
I'm only in a competition with myself, except now I'm too tired to do that. I'm old now, and I'm like, I don't care. I just want to do what I do.
Exactly.
And whatever.
Well, shit, cool. Chris, it was fun talking to you, man. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
Best of luck on the tour.
This is great.
And,
Thank you.
Man.
Keep doing this. This is wonderful that you do all these people that we know, and I look through the list of, like, it's an honor. Like, I get to be considered to be in a little list with some of those people that I know a bit or know really well. It's awesome.
Fuck yeah, man.
It. Thank you.
Of course, dude. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
Later, man.
Later, bud.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Chris for hanging. Certainly a guy I've wanted to speak to, and it was great catching up with him and picking his brain. So we'll catch y'all on the next one. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears tuned. Crash, bang, boom.